I'm Lisa Haisha. Welcome to the Legacy Series. Today I have Brianna Brown. She's a fascinating woman that the whole world needs to know about. That's how I feel. Once I met her, I started following her on Facebook and Twitter, and she's not just a wonderful actress. She's a great friend, and you know how rare that is in Hollywood for a woman to be a great friend to so many females. Who I've met so many of these females who just have been raving about her. And she's even started a group called the New Hollywood, a goals group for women. And that has been going really well. And again, I know several women in that group who their life has been transformed because of Brianna. If she didn't start this group, a lot of their successes, small or large, interpersonal, business, all were because of this group. So I think Brianna has already created a legacy worth living, but I want to learn from her today some of her secrets of how she got to where she is, how she achieved her goal of becoming an actress, and then wanting to give back, because so many people don't give back or don't realize how important their voice is once they have the microphone and people are willing to listen. So meet Brianna.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. Did you recognize who I was talking about?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, how did that sound coming from someone else? Because that's who you are.
Thank you. It's it's a lot. It's beautiful.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And
Thank
something
you.
about you, just your aura radiates goodness and kindness, and you come from your heart. So how did that happen? How did that happen when you were a little girl? Were you shy? Were you outgoing? Did you come from a functional family or dysfunctional?
I think, well, I came from a fairly functional family. I was blessed in that regard. When I was younger, I was very outgoing and loud, and then my mom would be like, "Be quiet," and she thought I had that I was hyperactive because I had so much energy. And fortunately, thank God, the doctor at the time wouldn't put me on medication because he just said, "No, she's got a lot of energy. She's really smart. Good luck." Whereas now, a lot of kids would be put on medication.
Okay.
You know, to be more quiet,
Yes.
that's just not.
It's so
not
popular.
knowing how to utilize and to streamline that person's energy and to help them focus. So yeah, that was when I was in elementary school. And then middle school, I got more shy. I was much more shy. I went through a very different period of my life, and I was more of a tomboy, actually. And then in high school, I went through some very interesting times and difficult times, and then that just was a big transformation for me and who I am. But I was always very empathic and very connected to people, and I didn't understand not being nice to people.
Okay, so
Not
that
to
was
say that I'm
always a
perfect.
part of who you were.
Always a part of who I am.
Yeah, I had a little bit of that too because I saw so many kids being bullied and teased, and for some reason I thought I was a stronger, bolder personality that I went to their defense, and I won like Miss, what did I get in 7th and 8th grade? That like the nicest person, Miss Compassionate. Or something. I was like, what? Because you're just doing what was normal. Like when you see someone being thrown in a trash can, that's not cool. You know?
No, it's not.
Yeah, and someone, I expressed it. But yeah, I wonder if that comes from something though. I remember like my hair was being washed by my mom when I was like 4 or 5, and she said, "Why do you have curly hair?" Because then it made her look like a bad mother because my hair wasn't always perfect. So I'm wondering if like an instant like that in your life made you more compassionate, because that made me more compassionate about people who are less than perfect. And it shifted me. What was the moment that shifted you?
Oh, you're asking the big question right now. We're jumping right in.
Yeah, like we all have like 3 moments, turning points in our life.
But the biggest honest moment in my life, obstacle that ended up turning into such a blessing that really, I feel like, changed the trajectory of my life, was actually when I was around 14. And like I had said, I went through a more shy period. I wasn't popular. Groups of girls were not nice to me at all. And I ended up going through just a really difficult time where I was severely bullied, and where I was very I was sexually harassed, and to the point of just not knowing what to do anymore. It was
How did that happen? What do you think triggered that?
Well, I think the fact that I was so nice and I didn't have the tool set to know how to speak up. I think I was insecure because I had bad acne at the time, and I didn't come from money, so none of my clothes were like top notch. So I just was kind of, I think looking back, an easier target for some of the kids that were insecure or bullied at home or wanting to just fit in. And or were jealous, depending upon.
Yes, of course, their issue.
Their issues. You don't hurt people unless you're hurting. Let's be honest.
Yes.
So I think I became kind of an easy target, and there were just groups of girls that just utilized that, and I didn't know how to fight back. I wasn't someone who would be verbally aggressive with somebody, and it just became such a. It just escalated to such a point where I had vandalism done to my house, and there was just massive slander, and boyfriends that I was dating broke up with me because they were getting, harassment from their teammates, and people wouldn't look at me in school. It was just a very difficult time. There was slander as if there was a rumor that I was gay, and I wasn't. Not that that would matter, even if I was.
Right.
But it was as if I was being outed. And I wasn't outed.
Right,
I wasn't.
Right.
But at that time, in where I came from the Midwest, at that time, that was a horrible thing to be. So actually, from all of that escalating to me really not knowing what to do and going to a very, very dark place, I had a come to Jesus moment, actually, when I was at my darkest and lowest moment, and I really felt God. And that's literally from that moment forward, I knew I had a purpose. And I went from being someone who was more of a victim and quiet and wanting to kind of fit in to all of a sudden not caring about that. I went from being someone who was okay being average to being like having this fire in my belly of wanting to be extraordinary.
And that was as a teenager?
That was at 14.
Okay.
And it was just a real, I still remember it, where it was almost like a light came through me, and I knew God was like, no, there's a plan for you. And from that moment forward, I just became an overachiever.
So did your grades increase in school?
I went from having normal grades,
Yeah.
and this is my freshman year, beginning of my freshman year, to being honor student. I all of a sudden was in the top. I still had struggles and obstacles to get there.
How did you get over all this bullying?
It had escalated to such a point that then, and my family wanted me to go to a different school.
Right.
And I actually was like, no, they need to be confronted. And I ended up confronting all of them, and they had to apologize. Not that it really meant anything from most of them. They didn't have the consciousness.
But you did confront them.
Yeah, I did confront them, and they had to pay money for the vandalism they did to my parents' house, and I said in a couple classes what happened to me. And after that, just the rumors stopped. I think people just knew it went too far.
Okay. Well, that's powerful right there. Knowing that if you stick up for yourself, you could shift what happens to you.
But I think I had to internally shift. And
Yes.
I think the beauty of it, too, was after that point, no one was ever going to mess with me again.
And it hasn't happened. No.
I wouldn't want somebody to
Yes.
But
if someone did, now you know how to handle it.
Well, and
You're
obviously have a different tool set. I'm a grown woman.
And you're not
I know how to
walking around
communicate.
as a victim or anything.
Not a victim, and it's just learning and growing and figuring out who you are. And when I was
But for
younger,
someone who is 14 today, if they're watching this, or if someone has kids that age, what would you tell them?
Well, I think and this is what I wish I would have understood is I briefly mentioned it. It's like people who are hurting hurt others. So if you have compassion for wow, you may be abused at home. You may be hurting for whatever reason. You may be so desperate to be liked that you're willing to be a sheep. You're willing to, make up rumors to make yourself feel better. That is a lack of self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And and I wish had I known and maybe had better guidance, had someone said, they're probably jealous, or you're different, or you're unique, and they're looking for a reason to put you down to make themselves feel better. And that is, it's a hierarchy within our culture. Let's put other people down and I'm suddenly important. It's a huge hierarchy within Hollywood. I'm so important, I'm going to treat you like shit.
Absolutely. Especially in this town.
Especially.
Oh, what do you have? Oh, you have this show. Oh, I have that show. It's
Who are you? What are you doing at this moment?
You're still.
You're only relevant if it's really important right now.
Yes.
But it's that. So for kids, what I would say is that it will pass. You have to, and for parents, I would say you have to teach tools to help them get out of their spin.
Yes.
Help them learn how to meditate. Yes. Help them learn how to appreciate what is working.
Yeah, and create a new story.
Create a new story.
I'm bullied. I'm not liked.
What's wrong with me?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was a story I had for what's wrong with me? What's wrong? And it wasn't until later that's like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I was who I am, and that's beautiful and wonderful. And those people were being
something
sheep.
was wrong with them that they needed to find someone to pick on to raise themselves.
To make themselves feel better. And, looking back, it was the biggest blessing. The biggest blessing. Because it gave me a strength and a desire and a hunger for so much more. And it made me see and have so much more compassion for people who are legitimately, coming out and the hardship of that, for people who have been bullied, for people who, even on that side, that are too shy or scared to speak up because when someone else is being aggressive or nasty, because they don't want that energy coming to them.
Yes.
And it did create, like you said, why are you kind? It's like, well, I have compassion.
Yes.
And understanding. I don't necessarily, that doesn't excuse certain behavior.
Of course,
but there is an understanding, and then
yes.
It's like obviously there's a lack of knowledge.
Yes, and you want to help generate more of that, more conscious behavior and
much
compassion.
More conscious behavior.
Yes.
And I think as adults, that, like what you said with my women's group, my nonprofit, it's all about creating more consciousness to help yourself and help others, pull yourself up by your bootstraps when times get tough, and to keep persevering, and to be a good person, and to give back, and to be an example of what we all really know is an example we want to be living.
And what I think is so wonderful about it is that a lot of people think they could create themselves, in an isolated place, just in their home. But when you bring in community, whatever goal you have is now supported by 20 other people. You can't help but reach your goals and your visions when you have someone that keeps you accountable, and people who care.
Yes.
Not just a virtual person or hiring someone to want to be there for you. These are people who aren't being paid to be on your team. They're people who are saying, I'm choosing this.
Well, and like I said, because I did experience such horrible things with groups of women. I hated groups of women because of this. This was one of many experiences with groups of women where I was like, why are you all hating on me now? Like, what is all of this? And it, just through the turn of events, that is part of why I ended up creating a women's group where it was, the fundamentals is support. It is a different paradigm than what we are taught.
Yes.
It is a sisterhood, and not to say that competition isn't a good thing, because I do think healthy competition is a good thing, but to help each other.
Yes.
It's like when you're on a sports team, I'm going to run fast, and hey, maybe you won't beat me, but at the end of the day, we're excited that we're pushing each other.
Yes, absolutely.
And I don't need to trip you in order to try and win.
And it doesn't matter if you support someone, that doesn't mean you're less than, because they got something or they're doing something that maybe even you strive to do. It's like, great, now I have a role model.
Right, and you're like,
and a contact.
Tell me, let's tell each other. How can we all do better and do bigger? Our world is in such a state.
Yes.
We all need to be doing, those of us who are blessed enough to have opportunities, in my opinion, need to be doing our best so that we can help fix this world of ours.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So how did you become an actress? Why did you want to be an actress? How did that come about?
Actually, so when I was in middle school, I auditioned for like all the middle school plays, and I was so shy. And so I remember you had to audition in front of everybody, and I would read the pages, and I would just I couldn't even read past the page, and I didn't make any of the middle school plays, which that's probably really hard to do,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, come on, it wasn't competitive. It wasn't like I wasn't at the Juilliard of middle schools of acting or performance school or anything. But I always knew I wanted to, but I always felt so stifled. And it wasn't until this incident that I had in the middle school to high school, and I remember after I kind of gone through the awareness of like, oh no, there's a different path for me, that I remember being with my mom driving, and I said, Mom, I want to be an actress. Now mind you, I never made any of the middle school plays. I'm just going to point that out. And she said, okay. She's like driving. Okay, why is that? And I said, because actors can be more powerful than politicians.
True.
True. And I knew that at 14. And then I started calling agencies, looking through the yellow pages. And I found representation that way. At 14, my parents were like, all right, we'll drive you downtown.
What state was this?
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Wow. Yeah.
That's ambitious.
It was ambitious, and I didn't know, and then I started auditioning, and yet, while having this like crazy confidence to pursue this.
Again, after not getting in
after
plays.
Never getting in plays.
Yeah, I'm going to do this.
I'm like, it was one of those, I don't know, but I'm just looking through the yellow pages. And then other people actually encouraged me to audition for the high school play. And we had actually a very good performing arts program. A lot of people went on to Broadway and conservatories and whatnot. And I was hesitant, but I had a couple of teachers really encourage me to do it, and I did. And then I got in the program and in that show, and then that was it. And then I ended up getting representation through Minnesota, and they brought me out to Los Angeles.
That brought you out here?
They brought me out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And when you say they brought you out, did that mean they put you in an apartment and they?
At 19, I had representation that was hip pocketing me, which means that there was an agency, Iris Burton Agency. She's no longer with us, but she hip pocketed me, and I started doing really well. I was getting callbacks by videotape from Minnesota. Videotape?
Really?
Yeah.
Back then, okay.
Back then, and that was before there was casting all over in the same way that it is now. And and they brought me out for a pilot season. So during my freshman year of college, I came out for a pilot season, and I booked 3 jobs, and they're like, you need to move here, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yay, but what?
Yeah, it's one thing to say you want to do another thing. You're
like,
doing
what
it.
is it?
Yes,
I don't even know,
exactly.
really.
What am I getting myself into?
Yeah, and the business is very different than obviously like doing a school theater
Of course, of course.
doing a musical, you know.
Yeah. So how did those pilots go?
I did a guest star on. I'm sorry, it was like a co-star on Freaks and Geeks, on the actual first episode of Freaks and Geeks, and then I did this family movie in Romania, and I did a commercial. You know, so they were like, "You're booking. You need to like
stay.
To make this transition."
But were those positive? Did you like the people you were working with? Were they nice? Do you feel you did a good job?
I mean, yeah, I was green. I was very much figuring it out. You know, I had no proper training.
Right.
I had to figure that out, you know, on my own. And then once I actually moved out, my parents were kind of like, well, sink or swim.
Yes. Yes.
So I was definitely not enabled. I didn't have a silver spoon in my...
Right, right.
You know?
So then you just stayed out here after that.
So then I went back home for a little bit, and then I moved out, and I was like trying to figure it out and having not so fabulous day jobs and trying to understand this world at an age where I'm like, who am I? What is this?
Yes.
I'm from the suburbs of Minnesota. You know, this is not...
feeling like you're a fish out of water.
Absolutely a fish out of water.
Not hip enough maybe, or...
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Like, everybody had so much money. I'd never seen so much money. I was like, I couldn't wear the cool clothes. I didn't... And all the parts I was going out for were like rich, popular, cheerleader, like everything that was like not me. Everything that was not me was what they were like, this is who you are. I'm like,
really?
Slutty. I'm like, oh.
Oh, that's funny. Did you get a lot of, you have to do nudity, you have to do topless? And
I had a lot of that when I was younger, and I said no a lot. Yeah. A lot. It was, you know, it's very interesting to
directors and producers really jump on the newbies who come
to
town. They
really do. Yeah. And I actually, that was also a big reason why I think I felt such a desire to network with other women and have support with other women, because it got to the point of because I didn't have enough credit, so people weren't taking me as seriously, which, you know, it's a catch-22. And when I would network with men in the industry wanting to legitimately network, it was inevitably like them wanting something else. And so I just stopped networking with men. I was like, I just don't, because this would be sexual harassment.
Yes.
In any other field, this would be sexual harassment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But for some reason, it's acceptable in this industry.
Yeah.
You know.
They're calling people out now a little more than before, but before it was just you don't talk about it, otherwise you're blacklisted.
Absolutely blacklisted. Yeah. I still have many people who I've worked with who in more recent years have been blacklisted off of, and they're working actresses that have not gotten work because a big director wanted to sleep with the person and they were like no, and then suddenly they have a reputation of being difficult to work with. I mean, that happens. I know handfuls of women where this stuff has happened. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, which is also a big reason why I am such a huge proponent of more women in the entertainment industry, a big proponent of women just really sticking together. Because there are amazing men in the industry. So I just want to like throw that out there. There's not like amazing men. But there's always a handful of not so great people regardless of sex.
Yes, absolutely.
Always.
In this business especially.
Yes.
Especially the B-listers and the
D-listers.
Yes, they really prey and really try to manipulate people into, if you don't do this, you can't have that.
Oh yeah, and I've had that. I've had, you know, I had a moment when I did a movie and a producer who has done big movies sat there and said he'd slander my name around town if I didn't go against my nudity rider. And I was in another country and my team was nowhere to be found, and I was like praying, and I just had strength to say like, what is it that you want? And he's like, we need more wide shots or whatever. And I'm like, well, you can't, no. You know, I was trying to negotiate with him. It was a 45-minute conversation of him bullying me into trying to do, and thank God I kept my ground, and I just was very, you know, clear and kind to him. And I said, I get you're nervous about your film doing well. I get you're worried about distribution, you know, but let's look at the footage and let's see after the fact when I get back if there's something that needs to be, you know, done. Yes. We'll talk about it then. Because they were trying to get.
That was a great idea.
Yeah,
at least
he was
very. Like you understood his position, even.
And I did, and I legitimately did. His way of going about it was completely inappropriate, but I think he thought I was an idiot. He was like, "Well, let's get a body double in for you." I'm like, "You're not going to turn a love scene into a you know what scene."
Yes.
To try and as if it's me.
Yes.
You know, no. And actually, in my paperwork, you couldn't do that anyway.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to do that anyway. So yeah, that was a big learning lesson how to speak up and be strong, and you know.
An actress friend of mine did a film, and she did not want to go that route. They said, okay, filming's over after she did all her scenes, and they brought in a double and created this whole other story and turned it into a porn film. So now she's in a porn film.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And they did body doubles with her.
Yeah.
And so they...
You just don't know. You have to protect yourself. And, you know, it's different if you come from the industry and obviously you have family members in the industry. There's just a different level of respect.
Yes.
There's just a different tools that you know.
Yes.
Where you would say, no, I don't.
Yes, exactly.
I don't think, or Dad, what do you think about that? And he actually knows the business to be like, absolutely not. You know,
yes, exactly.
That helps versus being a newbie from the Midwest, where you're right. There, you know, sometimes they definitely can prey on people from elsewhere who don't know any better.
Well, what are you working on now?
I just finished Graceland, so that's been airing, which is really, really fun. It was USA's Graceland, and now I'm going to see what's next.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And you also were on a, what was that show? It was a nighttime drama.
Devious Maids?
Devious Maids.
Yes. I was a regular on Devious Maids for the first season.
And now you're doing Graceland, and you're doing the New Hollywood. So tell us a little bit about the New Hollywood.
Okay, well, the New Hollywood, it's a philanthropic goal group. And we deal with 4 pillars, mainly goals, support, and then continued education, and then charity. So you know, the essence of it is to help one another, is to create a community of women to support each other with our personal and professional goals, and then also to support each other in just the various parts of our lives, the inevitable, you know, rugs being yanked out from underneath us, and celebrating the highs, and you know, saying it, you know, you'll move through the lulls, and you know, all of that, and and then there's the goal setting aspect, and then we always continue to grow and learn through continued education, which I'm a huge proponent that
Absolutely.
we always continue
Yes.
to learn more
Do you
and
take
grow.
classes together? Do you do things together as a group? Or
In our meetings, we'll have different speakers sometimes come in, or just have different people talk about things that they know about, or there's to continue posting about things, or sometimes we'll all read the same book. Or,
yes.
and then the last element is the philanthropic element, which I felt that, it's great that we're having this community and we're all helping each other, but, let's be honest, we need to be helping beyond each other.
Yes.
We need to be giving back. So we donate to various charities based on what the group, votes upon, and then we put on different charity events. We put on a big charity event for Free the Slaves to help stop human trafficking, and we did one for Tree People. It's a local environmental organization, and we're actually going to be doing our first benefit this fall for TNH to help with expansion, because I have so many ladies who are just recommended just from ladies in the group,
Yes.
that I could literally form another branch just from those people. And then I have people outside of the group who want to be in the group.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like, oh gosh, how do I do all this?
It's growing, yes.
It's growing.
And how often do you bring new people on?
Well, each year I bring in just a handful, because it does have, it is kind of a sacred space that we create for one another. So when I've had larger expansions, it just really shifts the vibe. So right now we're in the midst of figuring out like how to have an expansion committee and how I can almost like franchise different branches in different areas. I've had, a lawyer in DC want to know about like, how could I start a branch? I've had a lot of people reaching out to me about that. So I'm trying to figure out how I can make it available for anybody who wants to be part of a community, to continue to create this movement.
But keeping the sacredness in place.
While keeping the sacredness, and yet having the support for everyone by creating this community that other people can partake in, and really to help change that mentality, this mentality that our culture, I feel like women have kind of allowed our culture to manipulate how we should be toward one another, instead of saying like, no, you know what? Actually, let's not be like that.
Yes,
let's focus on this instead.
Yes, exactly.
And we definitely have women that are doing that and are trailblazing that and have been. But it's kind of gathering those women around, and then other women are inspired by it. And like, oh, wow, you're excited for her by her going and being brilliant? And you're like, yes. Like,
It's
wow.
huge. In this town, it's so huge. And just seeing the success of the members is so inspiring.
Yeah.
And having you as a leader of it is inspiring, because you're really keeping, like you said, you don't want to just expand. You're not just collecting people. You want to curate.
Yeah.
And make sure everyone's giving back.
Yeah, I want to make sure it's people, because at the end of the day, it's an accountability group.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that it's women who really, really are in alignment with the fundamentals of the organization.
Yes.
And so that
And will support each other.
will support each
take
other.
care of themselves too.
And we'll notice and be conscious of when they come upon resistance, and say, oh, that's what this is. Okay, I'm not just going to bail because it doesn't feel good right now.
Yes.
So it is a multi-layered group and organization, and we're wanting to include anybody to join our online community, which you can join on our website through our pledge page, which is thenewhollywood.org, and then through that they're going to be involved with newsletters and whatnot, and then we're going to start creating additional branches.
And how often do you guys get together?
Only 5 times a year.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because everybody's doing their thing.
Yeah, it's not a huge commitment, but yet you're there and you support each other on Twitter and Facebook and watching out for each other, and probably getting together.
Outside of that for electives and things that are not mandatory.
It's not formal. Yes, yes. And that's terrific. So if someone wants to get in, they could go to the website and just sign in and be part of the online group.
Online community through our pledge page,
Okay, and what if someone wants to join and actually go to the meetings?
Well, right now you have to be recommended. Okay. But as we're figuring out the expansion, especially in this next year, in 2015, we're going to really be figuring out how do we make this a bigger thing, so anybody that wants to be part of it can be part of it. So that's what my next chapter of it's going to be.
Yes.
Because it's been going on for 9 years.
9 years?
9 years.
How many members?
Right. We average around 30.
Okay, and who are these women?
Right now they're women mainly in the entertainment industry. But what the through line is someone that has a creative desire. because I feel like if you have a creative desire, you're always wanting to learn and grow more.
Okay.
So that could be creative in knitting. That could be creative
Just
in
curious. Curious people.
It's a great, yeah.
Yes.
And the reason it's called The New Hollywood was almost because it was said in tongue-in-cheek at a meeting, because we were talking to each other and we were being supportive about something, and it was like, yeah, it's like we're the new Hollywood. And then it kind of hit me like, ooh, it kind of is, because we're doing something a little different.
And what's the age range of the women?
I've had women in their, mid-20s to early 40s right now, but there's no real...
it could be wherever they want to be.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just women that are in alignment with what the organization stands for.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's wonderful, and I think it would be great to franchise something like that, then have big meetings for
Yes.
it, or actually team up with other organizations and build that way.
Yes.
So that's a huge commitment right there.
It's a lot,
I don't know.
but it is. I feel like it is a like I said. The fact that I had such horrible experiences with groups of women. It's no coincidence that later, and it wasn't conscious, but that I'm now helping spearhead and facilitate groups of really powerful leaders, women who are leaders.
Yes.
One of our taglines is like, we're a group of shepherds, not sheep.
Love that. I love that.
And saying, that getting all those women to come together and say, yeah, we want to make a difference. We want to be the best possible version of ourselves, and we want to make a difference. And I want to cheer you on. And it's definitely changed the way I am with other women. I've seen other women who maybe had bad experiences with other women just open up and be vulnerable and just really take off, personally or professionally, and that's been so fulfilling.
So what do you want your legacy to be?
I think that my legacy is to take this to the next level. And I think through my platform of acting, that is to help further it to go to the next level. I really would love for it to be an organization that anybody who is of that mindset can be able to have the tools available to them to be able to create this kind of community.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So there you have it, Brianna Brown. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was wonderful. Great advice.
Thank you.
Powerful woman. And you
you.
definitely are a shepherd.
Thank you. I
So,
try.
yeah. Yes.
I try.